appealing through you to Labour to please withdraw their threat. Encourage this administration to run this country properly.
President Muhammadu Buhari makes passionate appeal to organized labor to withdraw its threats for industrial action.
INEC set on arrangements for the smooth handling of materials as it inaugurates Logistic and National Collation Center committees in Abuja.
Court turns down Senator Dino Melai's request over police blockade on his residence in Abuja.
And on Good Morning Nigeria this Friday, our focus is on 2019 campaign documents of the Yes and National Conscience parties.
Penultimate month, we started our series of discussion on the 2019 campaign documents of various political parties participating in the forthcoming general elections.
Yes, indeed, Ruth. We started with the ruling APC's next level document to main opposition PDP's Let's Get Nigeria Walking Again. The SDP's Getting the Basics Right document followed with their core messages.
You're right, Kieran, and we did not stop there with just the big and main names of the parties on the lips of everyone. There were appearances also from some of the newly registered parties.
Certainly not a few count, Ruth. 91 registered political parties gearing for the polls in 2019. However, not all these parties will be fielding presidential candidates.
Well, from the multiplicity of options, today's edition of GMN is having the presidential candidate of a newly registered party, Yes Electorate Solidarity, a candidate from the diaspora, plus the presidential candidate of the National Conscience Party, a name clearly not certainly new to Nigeria's political handbook.
All right, now the questions to ask will be, just how in tune are these parties with the critical issues confronting the nation? Or better still, how vibrant and articulate are they with their visions for the people they seek to represent and serve?
Now, these are pertinent questions to ask the political gladiators as they brace up for 2019 elections, which is just around the corner. The ring is gradually getting set for all the actors to test their political might, talking about what outlook would shape the political landscape in 2019. And it is on that note that we welcome you to Good Morning Nigeria, reaching you live on Africa's largest TV network, the NTA. I am Ruth Aguele.
And I am Kieran Umai, also welcoming you to this edition of the program, the last for the week, actually. And we will also bring to you other segments of the program, which include newspaper review, business, polls, foreign, and entertainment news. But first, let's take these news highlights with Stella Inamete. Good morning, Stella.
Hello, Ruth and Kieran. Good morning. Here is the news. President Muhammadu Buhari has made a passionate appeal to the organized labor to withdraw its threat for industrial action and encourage his administration to sustain efforts at meeting genuine national aspirations for sustainable future of the country. Receiving the leadership of National Association of Nigerian Students, NAN, on a courtesy visit, the president asked the labor leaders to appreciate the enormity of the challenges confronting Nigeria and the conscientious steps being taken towards addressing them within the limits of resources.
Please withdraw their threat. Encourage this administration to run this country properly, to utilize the national resources for infrastructure so that the majority of Nigerians can benefit. They have the courage to spend the time and the resources to find out the truth about allegations of corruption or extreme indiscipline against any of my ministers, of the governors, or against myself. And I assure them that I will act accordingly.
These are some of the issues that the general public is using to assess your government, especially at electioneering period like this. They don't know exactly the truth. Some of us are privileged. We know exactly what is happening. We know that ASU is being economical with the truth. We know, without fear or favor, that they are being hypocritical.
Arrangements for the smooth handling of sensitive and non-sensitive materials, as well as a national collation center for the general elections, have been concluded. INEC National Chairman Professor Mahmood Yakubu stated this while inaugurating Logistic and National Collation Center committees in Abuja.
The Electoral Logistics Committee will be responsible for coordinating logistics, as well as the clearance and transportation of election materials to various locations nationwide.
Yeah, we ensure transparency. Everything will be transparent and open. Even in 2015, everything was open, and we are going to add measures that will improve what we had in 2015.
The Federal High Court sitting in Abuja has turned down the request of Senator Dino Melai, asking the court to order the removal of police blockade from his residence in Abuja. The plaintiff, in the application through his counsel, Mike Ozokeme San, wants the court to enforce his fundamental human right to freedom of movement. Dino Melai also seeks an order of the court to restrain the police from further threatening his life and arrest pending the determination of substantive suit. In his ruling, the vacation judge, Justice Maha, refused to grant the ex parte order. Justice Maha further ordered for an accelerated hearing of the substantive suit. Lai Mohammed has inspected Buhari Osinbajo Project 2019 Secretariat ahead of the formal opening of the Buhari Osinbajo 2019 project in Kwara State. Information and Culture Minister Lai Mohammed inspected the level of readiness for the event in Ilorin, the Kwara State capital. The office is located in the heart of Ilorin to coordinate the Buhari Osinbajo project in Kwara State.
What I've seen this morning, what I've heard, I think the level of confidence has gone even a notch higher, because what we are doing here is setting up a headquarters. Go back to what happened in in the last local government election, and you see that the people of Kwara Central are ripe for change. So we have actually no fears. We have no problem about any particular part of Kwara State. When evolution comes, it comes to all the people, and what the people in Kwara State are saying is, "Otoge, enough is enough."
A fire whose cause is yet to be known has burnt a residential one-story building at 19 Veteran Street, Metama, Abuja. A timely response of the combined effort of the FCT and Federal Fire Service prevented the fire from further escalation.
We call for backup from our control room. As you can see, even the Federal Fire, we are there together, we are fighting fire together with them. The fire was serious. Had it been that Maitama have a fire station, it will have become easier.
We received a call from the station that there's a fire at Vermont Crescent, and we came here. And so far, our firemen, we came here and we curtailed the fire. Well, it's fire at the upper floor, and well, it was a large fire, but we were able to curtail and salvage a lot of things from the building.
The Nigeria police has debunked the reports of a video on social media on circulation that 2,000 police personnel deployed to the northeast to complement the military in the fight against insurgency dropped their weapons in protest. A statement by the force public relations officer, acting DCP Jimoh Moshood, says the video is doctored to mislead the public and cause disaffection. He said the personnel have all successfully completed their training and have been deployed more than a week ago to the front line along with the military. Citizens have been enjoined by the force to discountenance the video as untrue, mischievous and fake news. And that's the news for now. Good Morning Nigeria continues with Ruth and Kirian after this break.
Unemployment, notably youth unemployment, features strongly in our party's manifesto. We intend to attack the problem frontally through revival of agriculture.
is going a long way. Actually, I bought an acre of land for 60K like 2012, and presently I have a cassava farm and a yam farm.
Reorganized, trained, and fully equipped, we are the new improved Nigeria Police Force. We fight crime, we bust syndicates. Whatever the crime, wherever the hideout, the Nigeria Police Force will get you busted. Stop kidnapping, armed robbery, murder, pipeline vandalism, and other criminal activities. Be productive. Be security conscious. Join the police force to secure your life and property. This message is from the Nigeria Police Force Public Relations Department.
Brought us as usual.
As usual. You have no problem.
For the three
you are welcome, sir.
As usual, yeah.
You take that one. You take that one. You don't understand? We want Nigerian homegrown rice. Finish. You don't have. You don't have.
Join the rice revolution today.
No other rice that tastes like Nigerian rice. Are you sorry? That's the Nigerian rice we are talking about. Chocolate made in Nigerian rice. Healthy food. I'm going to bring Mrs. Mobo to come to chocolate rice made in Nigeria here. And see how it are made.
Correct.
How they are cook it.
Correct.
Homegrown rice are good for your health. It boosts our economy and give employment to our people.
This message is brought to you by the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture. It is that time of the year when we appreciate all those that mean so much to us. All sponsors, our clients, government at all levels, corporate bodies, advertisers, religious bodies, civil society groups, political parties, business, and above all, you, our esteemed viewers. Together we made 2018 great. Together we shall make 2019 even greater. And that is why we say thank you. Merry Christmas and a prosperous New Year.
Welcome back. Still on Good Morning Nigeria. Let's talk business news now. Central Bank of Nigeria pledges to stabilize growth in the economy through development of SMEs. Let's join Kunle Adeye for details.
The Central Bank of Nigeria said it will sustain its development finance activities. The governor of the Apex Bank, Godwin Emefiele, disclosed that the aim is to ensure the nation's self-sufficiency to reduce Nigeria's excessive dependence on imports. He itemized support for farmers, entrepreneurs, as well as small and medium-scale businesses through interventions like the Anchor Borrowers Program, Nigeria Incentive-Based Risk-Sharing System for Agricultural Lending, and the National Collateral Registry. The CBN governor said the bank will eventually take action that will directly bring banking services to the rural communities through licensing of a national microfinance bank to be located in all the local governments in Nigeria, through which credit could be channeled to the rural communities. In another development, the total debt in Nigeria was 34% of the nominal GDP of $376 billion as of December 2017. private debt accounted for 36.6% of the debt. And the new data released by the International Monetary Fund (IMF) tagged warning of a legacy of excessive debt. Global debt reached an all-high of 184 trillion in 2017. This represents an increase of 225% of global gross domestic product in the period under review. And next is the graphic representation of Thursday's tradings on the floor of the Nigerian Stock Exchange. With business news, I'm Kunle Adeyeye.
Also, Kunle Adeyeye with business news. Thank you, Kunle. Next on the program is a review of today's national dailies.
Thank you for staying with us, and our newspaper reviewer, Bayo Atoyabi, is already here. Good morning, Bayo. Good to see you.
Thank you, Ruth. Good morning. Good morning.
Welcome, Bayo.
Thank you. Good morning, Nigeria.
All right, let's start with Daily Sun, just beside the main flag. Zamfara insecurity. I'm ready to quit. Governor Yari expresses optimism. Bandits activities won't affect elections. And you get the details on page 40. Now let's go to the leading story, which I'm very sure is familiar with papers Kirian is having. As military intensifies onslaught against Boko Haram, 5 Air Force officers die in air crash. They paid supreme price for the nation. Buhari. And the details you find
now
on page 4.
to the Blueprint. Blueprint newspaper, captured that crash this way. How military lost 5 troops in NAV helicopter crash, says the locals. And with the rider, Buhari Buratai condole with CS and urge courage. Let's hear from Bayo on this incident.
Yes, indeed. Our hearts must go out to the families of 5 of our compatriots who paid the supreme sacrifice while laying their life fighting the insurgency in the northeast. The dead include a pilot and co-pilot and 3 other technical personnel who were providing support for troops as they were fighting the insurgents, and the helicopter unfortunately crashed. The president has paid respect to the family, and I think we all as a nation owe them that respite, because they laid down their life for our own collective safety.
It's quite sad, Bayo, really sad. Well, let's continue to pray for our troops as they battle insurgency. Still more from Daily Sun. Below the picture story there, Collation Center, PDP, others kick over Amina Zakari's appointment. You'll find the details when you go to page 6. I'll be watchman during elections, Obasanjo. Details on page 39 and 6. And it has a writer here, Atiku insists on card readers. And then another sad note, ex-Kano Millard, that's former military governor, Air Vice Marshal Abdullahi dies at 74. You find the details on page 40. I won't disappoint Nigerians, pledges Buhari. The details you find on page 7. Kirian?
All right, let's return to the Blueprint newspaper. And beside the nameplate of the Blueprint newspaper, Ruth also read this story. I am ready to quit as Zamfara governor over insecurity, says Yari. It's on page 16. Below that, we have stop distracting my government. Buhari warns labor unions. And that can be read on page 7. Then Chinese killing Kano textiles market, says traders. You get that on page 8. And now we've read this story. Let's go to the stories just below the lead story here. Federal government budgets 16.5 billion naira for local contractors' development plans. It has 3 riders to that. 45 billion allocated to Northeast, 10 billion contingency. 100 billion voted for zonal intervention. It's reckless, says a CSO. All right, now let's go to the bottom of the Blueprint newspaper for this morning. There are three striking stories there. Insecurity. Katsina needs additional policemen, says Masari, the governor of Katsina State. He's on page 7. And I will be watching, or rather, I will be a watchman during general elections, says Obasanjo. He's on page 6. 242,455 applicants want 10,000 police jobs. Is on page 6. Let's bring in Bayo here for analysis.
Yes, first on the death, our condolence to the people of Jigawa State for the death of Air Vice Marshal Hamza Abdullahi. He one time was a military governor for Kano State and later on also served as minister for the Federal Capital Territory. Actually, he died on his way to a hospital in Frankfurt in Germany. He was aged 74. Now, the issue about INEC, the Independent National Electoral Commission, made 2 critical appointments, announced them yesterday. One is the chairman for ad hoc committee for electoral logistics, and the other is the chairman for the National Coalition Center, for which Mrs. Amina Zakari was appointed. However, some political parties have gone to town to challenge that. The People's Democratic Party says they reject Amina Zakari as chairman National Coalition Center for the grounds that she is a blood relation of candidate Muhammadu Buhari. They allege that her appointment would assist INEC and the APC to rig the presidential election. Also, a spokesperson for the All Progressive Grand Alliance, Abuja, says aside from being nepotistic, it is highly unethical. The presidential candidate for Allied Congress Party of Nigeria, Obiageli Ezekwesili, also described it as a provocative act of political corruption. What are the facts? The facts is that she was first appointed as a member of the Independent National Commissioner by President Goodluck Jonathan. She is also serving her second time, and she's not the only one that is serving second time. There are 3 other INEC National Commissioners who are serving the second time. She is not a blood relation of President Muhammadu Buhari, as it has been alleged. Actually, her mother is from Daura, but the mother is not a sister to President Muhammadu Buhari. In fact, that lie was first raised by a prominent politician from Kano, and since the first came forward, the politician has since recanted that it was not a fact. But the important thing is that doubts have been created in the minds of Nigerians. And since 2015, INEC has conducted nearly 200 elections. And so far, none of the elections conducted by INEC has been ordered for a rerun by any court of law, which shows that the level of credibility has actually improved.
Yes.
But when an officer's integrity has been impeached, we have to pay respect to the public officer who is doing her best. As a public officer, she cannot come and defend herself. Yes. So what normally one will advise is that in journalism, we say, when in doubt, leave out. Since political parties have created doubts, the safest thing to do is to leave her out of that. Unfortunately, as a public officer, she cannot defend herself.
But what about her right as an individual? You know, she's been working with INEC for a while now. She didn't just start working with INEC.
I agree
and
with you.
For the fact that she's from Daura, perhaps some reasonable Nigerians could say, look, it doesn't really matter. And the point is that we dwell so much on rumors and such speculations that are unverifiable. That is just a major problem with this now. For the fact that she's from Daura, she's now a blood relation, you know, to the president. So it's one of the problems that we have in our political landscape. Rumor peddling, believing in what is not real, and when it becomes viral, in fact, the believability level, you know, is high.
Sometimes there's a lot of falsity put there with the hope that you keep on emphasizing that falsehood, then people will falsely accept it as truth. Even the INEC chairman has been reported to be a relation of the president, but it's not true.
It's not true.
The INEC chairman is from Bauchi State, but her personal interest, like you raised, is quite genuine, but you weigh it against the national interest of undermining a national election. And therefore, I'm sure she herself will feel honored if you will have to step aside to uphold the integrity of our national election.
Because
all right, let's continue with the Daily Trust.
All right, let's take Daily Trust. And the leading story is quite different from what the other dailies are carrying. Federal government has spent 3 billion naira on fuel generators. You find that story on page 5. And the picture story there is President Muhammadu Buhari being decorated as the Grand Patron of Nigerian Media Merit Award by Chairman, Board of Trustees and Patron, Engineer Vincent Maduka, we know was also one time former DG of Nigerian Television Authority, when the President received a delegation of the trustees at the State House in Abuja yesterday. And with him there, with them, of course, is former Minister of Information, Prince Tony Momo. I'll take other stories now. INEC sets up committees ahead of polls as PDP kicks. You'll find that story on page 5. Huge debts, trusts, issues put Nigerian banks at risk. Details on page 17. Zamfara is ready for state of emergency. Yari tells Buhari. The details is on page 7.
All right,
Kieran,
have you heard
that
the federal government has paid 15.8 billion naira to the academic staff union of Nigeria universities?
But it was denied by
The president of the academic staff union said he has not been briefed. A report says that the release was made on 31st of December. However, the ASU president has confirmed that there has been a meeting that they have been invited to. He cannot confirm the payment of that money. The Minister of Labour indicated to him sometime that something has been done regarding the demand. He says there is to be a meeting with government officials on Monday. And ASU, you will recall, declared a strike on November 4th, and since then they've been on indefinite strike. Also on the side of the Nigeria Labour Congress, the federal government says it is to meet with NLC tomorrow over its threatening strike of January 8th. Spokesman for the Ministry of Labour and Employment, Samuel Oluwo-Okere, says that the Minister Chris Ngige is to meet with the executive of organized labor. And the Secretary General of the Nigeria Labour Congress, Peter Ozueson, has confirmed as receiving such an invitation.
All right, that's good enough.
There's progress, at least.
Yeah, exactly, there's progress. But, you know, one would have loved to ask this question, you know, that money has been paid to ASU. Is ASU actually directly responsible for providing infrastructure in the universities? How will the money be dispensed? Nigerians may like to understand how this is done. If there have been paid some money, for instance, you know, if it is confirmed, after all, how do they, you know, expend this fund? Yes, to provide the infrastructure in question and other demands they have been making for a while now.
And I know TED Fund is responsible for that.
The money that has been paid, from all indications, is payment for shortfall in salaries of universities. So it's clear. This payment is for shortfall for salaries in the universities.
All right.
The other contention, what claims the university has made, is some payment for infrastructural development in the universities. But this is not for that.
Okay, now let's turn to the review for today. Yes, the editorial review for today, and is on one man that has impacted on this nation, you know, based on his value level, his you know, level of patriotism and what have you. Sheikh Usman Shagari, born 1925 and died in 2018. This is the first presidential, the first president of executive president of Nigeria. Right, and the death, Second Republic, and the death of Alhaji Shehu Usman Ali Shagari, the Second Republic president, on Friday, the 28th of December 2018, after a brief illness at the National Hospital, Abuja, has justifiably thrown the country into mourning over the loss of one of its uncommon patriots. Shagari was easily a statesman, teacher, affable, humble, God-fearing, and a leader with deep and sincere commitment to a better life for the ordinary Nigerians.
The nation is mourning the passing on of former President Sheikh Ali Usman Shagari. He died on 28th of December and was buried in Shagari on 29th December. Since his death, in fact, at least 1, 2, 3 former presidents and head of states have visited Shagari. That is to tell you the kind of esteem with which he was held. You also recall that when he was sworn in as first executive president on 1st October of 1979, his tenure came to an end on 31st of December 1983. Incidentally, the junta that overthrew him was headed by Major General Muhammadu Buhari. Some have argued that Buhari had no cause coming back into the political terrain, having it overthrown a legitimately elected government. Others have also argued, and in fact have quoted President Shehu Shagari to have said that he was not overthrown by Buhari. Those who overthrew him were shopping for a person of integrity and brought in Buhari to fill in that void. But be that as it may, the nation is paying its respect, and the editorial is happening on that. He was a gentleman politician, a president who used power most moderately. And you recall also that since 1954 that he went into politics, having gotten elected to the Federal House of Representatives, he held several positions at party and cabinet level. He was minister, he was federal commissioner, and he had portfolios which covers areas of interior, economic development, and finance. And so he was actually prepared, having passed through the mill, so to say, by the time he became president.
Political tutelage,
yes.
That actually, as a matter of fact, some of his legacies, cannot be, forgotten in this country. Yeah. And one of the major ones is the Ajaokuta Steel Complex. Yes. If you find your way into that premises, you will discover that there was a huge plan for that establishment. And I'm sure, and we've said that in this program before, that he will not be happy that that complex has been left the way it is in the past 40 years. Ajaokuta is a major legacy that he left behind within 4 years as president of this country.
Yes, really, Ajaokuta was supposed to have been the technological hub that will launch this nation into its development, that will take care of every other thing that we do. The other one that was to couple that was the petrochemicals. From the slippers you wear when you wake up from your bed in the morning to anything you use, they all come for petrochemicals. But unfortunately, we've not been able to capitalize on this. But the fact remains that we lost an elder statesman, and his life is particularly an example for all to go. During his administration, when his government was overthrown, there were allegations of corruption. But none of the corrupt instances were traced directly to him. He lived a modest and honest. In fact, he declined and refused to have a presidential house built for him. He was contented to live in his own house.
This is a huge loss for the nation.
Yeah,
indeed. He's left a very big legacy. May his soul rest in peace. May his soul rest in peace. And we'll continue to remember him. Thank you so much, Bayo. It's been nice having you here on Good Morning Nigeria for today. And we wish you a pleasant weekend ahead.
Thank you. I look forward to it.
All right.
And make sure you return on Monday.
I'll follow that instructions.
Certainly. All right, let's go on a break. Good Morning Nigeria. We'll be back.
Hate speech is not a joke. It incites genocide and crimes against humanity. Most of Africa's civil wars are caused by hate speech from one tribe against another. We don't want it here. The Nigerian government stands firm against hate speech.
Under no conditions whatsoever should we tolerate or excuse or justify hate speech or hateful conduct of any kind, especially where such is illegal.
There's no doubt that the resurgent push for separatism, as well as the rising cases of ethnic and religious disharmony, are all traceable to the growing phenomenon of hate speech.
One nation bound in freedom, peace and unity.
Nigeria, one nation, one people.
This is a public service announcement brought to you by NTA.
These days, people get their news and information from more media sources than ever before. Some of the news and information given are fake, unverified, doctored, and manufactured to create confusion, stir disaffection, and cause disunity. Before you believe or share any news, ask yourself, is this real? Is it from a credible source? Is it verified or verifiable? Fake news is dangerous, whether you do it for fun or for political gains. Real people can get hurt. Fake news, don't create it, don't spread it.
This is a public service announcement from NTA.
Well, we thank you for staying with us up to this moment on Good Morning Nigeria, Friday's edition of the program. And of course, you know that in the past couple of weeks, we have been interrogating political parties' manifestos and what they intend to do for Nigeria after being elected, you know, in February. And of course, it's been very interesting to know that we have given opportunities to so many political parties on this platform to come and sell their manifestos to Nigerians. And we're doing the same today. And so joining us via Skype from United Kingdom is the Yes Electorate Solidarity Party presidential candidate. He is Dr. Lister Shoyode. Good morning and welcome to the program.
Good morning. Thank you very much for having me.
And also joining us here in our Abuja studio is Omowumi Obafemi. She's a National Organizing Secretary, Yes Party. Good to have you join us on Good Morning Nigeria.
Good morning.
All right, let's go to the presidential candidate in the UK. Nigeria is a huge nation with a checkered political history. In fact, the largest black nation on earth. And knowing your background, you don't have any political experience whatsoever. You can correct me if I am wrong, but the question is, why do you want to lead Nigeria?
Well, thank you very much once again. Let me use this opportunity to sympathize and pray for the families of the bereaved of our armed forces who have just had another accident in trying to salvage the situation in our country. And without any doubt, this is one of the reasons why for us, as young Nigerians and who have been promoting the cause and who have been promoting and selling our country to the international community, feel that it is time for us to join in the leadership and good governance that is needed in our dear country. And now that, Mr. Kieran, I don't know what you mean by having any experience in politics. I just believe that politics is a career and people just need good governance, good leadership. So if that is what it is, then I believe that you and I, we all have the experience to provide quality leadership that is needed in a community, in a state, and in a nation. So bearing that in mind, as somebody who has been the former chairman of Nigerians in the diaspora organization, responsible for more than 14 million Nigerians, and who have been remitting more than $20 billion on a yearly basis to Nigeria, which is almost as equal as the budget that Nigeria normally do, then definitely I have the experience and I have the leadership quality that my dear country so much desire. So with that in mind, then I believe that now, why do I want to do it? The Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria requires that somebody need to be a Nigerian, be of 35 years old, and have a minimum qualification to ascribe to become a president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. So I think bearing this in mind, then it definitely shows that I have the quality, I have the capacity, and I know what it takes to be a leader in Africa, and not just in Africa, but around the world. So with that, sir, I believe that we are on the right track, and with our entry into the political and democratic process of our dear country, then without any doubt, we normally and sure be equally responsible to be able to provide that leadership that my country so much requires.
Now, still on you, Dr. Shoyode. Now, if we're looking, let's go back to the basic. They said democracy is for the people, by the people, and for the people. And you're mostly in the diaspora. And reaching out to the grassroots, you know, it's one way you have to build the trust of Nigerians if they must vote you as their president. What are you doing? What are you doing differently to reach out to Nigerians, especially those at the grassroots level? You know, what strategies have you put in place differently?
Well, thank you very much. You see, my journey into now political career is not just by accident. As somebody who has been promoting mentorship, entrepreneurship in the country, across the country, I have transversed and I have participated and I continue to participate in mentoring our youth and mentoring people who want to go into business. So with that in mind, we started a movement called Yes Nigeria Movement in the country, whereby we were visiting people at the grassroots level, telling them and teaching them, educating them that they need to support whatever party they belong to for the credible and good quality leaders within that party to emerge to become candidates for their individual party. So this is what we have been promoting across the country. And we have met a lot of traditional rulers, we have met a lot of NGOs, civil society organizations, but it was receiving tremendous support. And people were asking us, why don't you, likewise, when you're telling us to go into politics and you're telling us to support good quality candidate within our own party, why don't you have your own party? And that's what gave birth to the Yes Party. And then again, before that time, we have been working with other organizations. I can tell you most sincerely that even the Thought Force, the Nigerian Intervention Movement, and the CAM, all these parties, and including the major political parties in the country, we have been sharing ideas and policy with them in order to support and reframe and change the ethos of Nigerian politics from money orientation to policy ideology, whereby people who can definitely implement what they are saying can be allowed to emerge. And this is what we have been doing. So this is what gave birth to the Yes Party. So what am I doing at the grassroots? As I say, this is what gave birth to the party. So technically, you and I are the structure that is needed for anybody, genuinely person that can contribute. What we are doing is based on what we know, what we have learned, and what we have been delivering. And for the last 2 decades, I have been selling Nigeria to the international community through my platform. I launched the first Black TV station in Europe called Ben Television. I have no experience in television, no experience in communication, but for the image of my dear country, for the negative position that people have been ascribed to Nigeria, gave birth to that platform. So I have been selling Nigeria, and at home, without any doubt, I have interacted with government agencies, ministers, governors, commissioners, chairmen of local government wards and local government authorities, and even some of our leaders. We have been privileged enough to bring them out of Nigeria to come and interact with the international community, international organization, the Nigerians in the diaspora. That is what I have been doing for the last 20 years. And at home in Nigeria, without any doubt, I have been doing the best I can within my limited resources. So Nigeria for me is the only thing I know, is what I eat, is what I drink. It's not that we lack leaders, but we lack people who implement the policy idea and people who make sure that the rule of law is being followed to the fullest. And that's the difference between what you can see in me and what you can see in the other candidate. This has been proven at the international level, and it has been proven without any doubt in the Nigerian context.
All right, thank you very much indeed. And we'd like to appreciate one of the major issues that you raised, concerning leadership, your experience, and what you have done for Nigeria in terms of selling the country across the globe through your platform. That's a good one. And right now, let's go to some specifics, because, of course, if we're talking about leading a nation, we must have a good knowledge of the economy. You also have a good knowledge of what you can do to turn other sectors around. And Nigeria is a nation that has not had a stable economy for several years. And there are reasons for that. For instance, agriculture is down. Our production capacity is very low. There is no homegrown technology and what have you. So where are you going to begin from with respect to the economy of the nation? How would you lift us up, if you become president of this country?
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Syrian. There is no doubt when people want to talk about broadcasting and want to talk about media, your name has to resonate strongly because you are a professional. So there's no doubt about it. What I am is I'm a top person who knows what to do to bring the best of our Nigerians to the core, to the table. And when you talk about economy, for example, I'm not an economist, but I have a good understanding of what economy is all about. But when you talk about entrepreneurship, I know what we need to do to ginger the best talent of our youth and our elders to emerge and come out and begin to build something for themselves. Now, when you talk of that as well, our manufacturing industry, which we should have been number one. Earlier, in the panel over there, you talk about the Ajakuta steel, which has been there for almost 4 decades, is a pain. I have been to that place few times. Under the good governance tour, I was there. A massive output, a good place. When you enter that place, you can see technology in its prime. That is almost 40 years ago. And as of today, Nigeria should have been a global leader, not just on the African continent, but a global leader. What that shows is either over the last 40 years, those people, those leaders who can and should have changed that situation, were not able to do that. You have to ask a lot of questions. That is one thing for sure is we are absolutely different. And as I said, look, please, let's not talk about sentiment. Every leader that is out there must have participated one way or another in the situation and the position my dear country is presently. I only came out just to show and interact again here in the diaspora. But when we talk about the economy, we need to diversify. And you don't need to talk about diversification when you know people are suffering. You have the resources to move away from not just agriculture. Technically and physically or academically, I actually only read agriculture. So I know what agriculture should be. I'm a farmer before becoming a media person. So now let's put that into perspective, that we need to ginger the talent and the opportunity. We have the national resources in that country. And by the way, not everybody wants to be a farmer. If all of us end up being farmers, what happened to all the industries? So we will bring the best talent out. As I said, in terms of economy, you have the best brains as well. And as somebody who has always been identifying talent, I know what we can do to work with this. So we want to make sure that the service industry is recapitalized. What do I mean by recapitalization? Is opening the window. When you look at the Western world, they depend on the other countries, whereby they use their services, either for telephone services, for phone calls, and for other added value. Nigeria have the capacity. We have the number. We'll open these doors because we already know what to do to interact. Because at the end of the day, for the Western world who want to go into Africa as a continent and who want to do business in Nigeria, we have been advising and working with these people. We know what they need. So for me, really and truly, even the capacity, let's go into the sporting industry and the entertainment industry. We have the capacity to produce individual champions, not just for Nigeria and in Nigeria or on the African continent, but globally. That on its own can generate a lot of revenue for my dear country. Look at Anthony Joshua, the heavyweight boxing champion of the world. If Nigeria has capitalized on that, now we're talking of one single person who will become a billionaire in just sport. How much more we have a lot of people in Nigeria that can and should be allowed to showcase their talent. That is the difference. So when I'm talking, I'm not talking out of the context of being sentimental. I'm being realistic that Nigeria shouldn't be in her position of suffering and the consequences that we're facing. We are going to open up all the avenues. So it's not about, do we have the capacity? We have the capacity, but do we have the people that will implement the policy and the idea that will allow Nigeria to become the global player? That is what we are liking. And that is the difference between me, and the rest. And this is the difference between, do we want a better Nigeria? And I believe, sir, you will say yes. Do you want a greater country? I believe you will say yes. Do you want a country that the healthcare service will be provided for people when duly ascribed? I believe you will say yes. And that's why we're giving you the yes party, because it is time for every single Nigerian to put sentiment aside. In fact, one of the major things I believe our party stand for is to say, when you're looking for a job, the state of origin must be deleted. Your religion affiliation must be deleted, so that just you as your person should be given the opportunity, because you have the capacity and you have the quality to get that job, not because you are from the one state or another, but because you are Nigerian. Nigeria shouldn't be in her position. We shouldn't be suffering. And I call on our leaders, those who can do things that would change that country, to allow the younger generation who have the ability, not just because you're young and you should be given the opportunity. If you have no experience, then you shouldn't be there. And one thing with the yes party as well is we have something that we call the yes factor. The yes factor basically talking about the youth, the economy, the education, the enterprise, the energy, our elders, looking after our elders. But apart from all this, you need to have people who have the expertise and experience to get the job. But apart from all this good health care, good reform, good enterprise, energy working, taking care of the youth, taking care of the elders, paying their pension, if you don't have security, you cannot enjoy the benefit of everything that you have. Wealth is very important. People who are wealthy are a bit afraid in my country right now. People who are poor are afraid as well. But we need a standard and a strong security. And that's why in the yes factor, the last letter that encompasses everything is the letter S, which means you absolutely need a strong, secure security for people to enjoy and be realistically happy with the situation in Nigeria. And that's what you have with the Yes Party. And that's what you have with the gentle people who are in that party, believing that it is time for Nigerians to be given the golden opportunity that God has put on that country.
Now, Dr. Shoyade, still on you. If all these promises you have mentioned must thrive in a nation like Nigeria, we must rid the nation of corrupt practices. Now, corruption, we know, is not peculiar to Nigeria alone, but is a global phenomenon. Now, what is your stance, first of all, in terms of fighting corruption? If you're elected president, what would you do differently to fight corruption? And also, as an industrialist and an agriculturist, you haven't given us those strategic policies you're going to put in place to ensure that the economy thrives and also to create jobs for the teeming youth in Nigeria. And just before you answer that, your phone has been beeping. Can you just help us put that on silent note, or you turn it off?
Okay, well, thank you. When we talk about the issue of creating jobs, let's be realistic. Nigeria, we do not lack the policy and the ideology of creating jobs. The problem is we do not have people who absolutely believe that this job needed to be created for the people. The biggest question that you ask is the rule of law. The rule of law in my country, in our country, is zero. People are not following law. They're not following judicial issues. They're not obeying what the Constitution says. And that's the biggest challenge. I do not see corruption as different from committing a crime of stealing 1 naira. The most important thing for us as a party and as a person is that the rule of law must be followed to the fullest, wholesome. There is no difference from treating somebody from Lagos different from somebody from Kazana. There's no difference from treating a man from a woman. One law ascribed to every single Nigerian. The issue about criminality, I do not want to call it, as I say, corruption. If it is a criminal offense, then it is a crime. It is a crime against humanity. It is a crime against Nigerians. You should not condone any aspect of criminality. Simple. And what we're going to do is to make sure that every law in the in the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria is followed to the fullest and wholesomely. There is nobody that is above the law of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Nobody. And I said nobody. And the difference should be absolutely clear here, that Nigeria belongs to every single Nigerian. And in terms of creating jobs, we have the policy, we have the technology. When we talk about innovation and creativity and technology in today's modern day, around the world, they are actually already talking about artificial intelligence, which means people are already moving ahead of us. And we are still behind. Yesterday, we were just talking about the new railway system that we have created in Nigeria. Brilliant idea, but we only built 1 lane. Now, how then do we want to increase that? Instead of building 2 lanes, we built 1? Goodness me, when all the global places are building trains that are speeding at 400 kilometers per hour, that is going backward. But we have the resources and we have the capacity. When you talk about creating jobs, yes, when you look at the building industry, we're talking about that people come from other African countries to build in Nigeria. That is very, very detrimental. We need to go back and utilize our own human capital and human resources and our youth who are looking for jobs. In the housing industry alone, you can create as many as 1 million jobs. When you now talk about the entertainment industry, we can create another 1 million jobs. And as somebody who's already within the entertainment industry because of the television background, it means we know we're not just talking like reading the piece of paper. Anybody can sit down and read brilliant manifesto. You can get doctors to write a brilliant manifesto for you. But have they been able to do that? You have to ask those people who are saying they want to be elected now, what have they been doing with their life before coming suddenly saying, you need to elect me, you need to vote for me? Check our own background. Man, check where we're coming from. What have we been doing with the little, limited, tiny resources that we have? We're grateful. So we are not liking ideas. As I say, you need people who have done something, people who are doers, not people who are readers. You can have a brilliant manifesto, yes, and you can read it and tell us this is what we're going to do. No, what I'm saying here is look at who is Mr. Shoyode, who is Ali Shoyode, who is this guy they call A.S. the Bridge. When you want to talk about it culturally, and I said it, I'm just a Nigerian. I've never really spoken about where I'm coming from. I'm just a Nigerian. But then let's break it down. My parents are both North and South. So which means I'm a bridge between the North and the South. I was born in Kazana, raised in the South, and then filtered out to the international community for almost 2 decades, but always constantly at home. I have been a former chairman of Nigerians in diaspora, directing more than $20 billion back home from our diaspora. We have directed investment into our country. We're not doing this because we were before in government. We're not doing it because we're ministers, which is anybody who is in a leadership position right now. Whatever they do is not because they are doing it out of their heart. It is because that is the duty and the job that they were assigned and the role given to them to go and do. So don't be celebrating somebody built road. That's the reason why he is there. Don't celebrate somebody built hospital. That's the reason why you elect them. Celebrate them when they actually are accountable and transparent and not because people are suffering. This is the position where we are as Nigerians. If you're most sincere, sir and man in the studio, you will agree that you said there are issues that are pertinent to Nigeria. Yes, corruption could be everywhere globally, but when it is absolutely beyond reasonable doubt that people get away with it, we shouldn't allow that to happen. So for me, we will create job, and it's not just because we're talking it. As I said, look at who are we. We did not make money from the air, and that's so now we're giving back the money to the air. No, whatever it is that we have rendered to our country is the what God has made it possible for us to, with our sweat, to generate, and we.
All right, thank you very much indeed. We have been listening to Dr. Alistair Shoyode. He is the presidential candidate of Yes Electoral Solidarity. We'd like to thank him for reaching us all the way from UK. Now, Nigeria is a complex nation with institutions that many describe as weak or dysfunctional. I think when we return to you, you will be telling us some specifics. We want to know, for instance, what do you do with agriculture? What will be your policy, direction? What will you do on daily basis, if you like, that will ensure that agriculture thrives? Because here, things done are practical. It could be analyzed, but it has to be practical, and you have to work with Nigerians who have been there. Like you said, that we shouldn't thank anybody for building road, which is true. But the point is, when a road has been there for decades undone, when somebody does it, it shows the Nigerians will hail him. Yeah. Right, we'll return to you in a short while. But for now, we have Mrs. Omowumi Obafemi, who is the National Organizing Secretary of Yes Party. And we'd like to ask her to even tell us what Yes Party is all about.
Thank you. Like the presidential candidate, Alistair Shoyode, summarized, Yes Party is a political party that was born out of necessity. We actually started out as a movement, an educational series, and we were going round the whole 36 states of the Federation, from villages to different local governments, educating them on their electoral rights and privileges. We have a passion to reach out to people, especially youth and women, because they constitute majority of the electorate, and they are the heartbeat of the nation. When I say women and youth are the heartbeat of the nation, I mean it. So it was after going out for this electoral educational series, a lot of people started coming out and clamoring that we should form a political party. And we looked into it, we sat down as a team, and then we decided that yes, we think it's worthwhile, and then they presented our presidential candidate, Alistair Shoyode. We had our primaries, and he came
Did you have a transparent primaries?
Oh, free, very, very fair. When I say very, very free and fair primaries, we had it.
Okay.
Yes, party is a different party from all other political parties, and I mean it.
What makes you different?
We are actually different. We're not like the everyday political parties you find around. We're people of vision. And we have our core values: equality, peace, justice. These are things we are bent on and have a passion to put into politics. Yes Party is not the ordinary party you see. It starts even from our secretariat. You see our staff, from our presidential candidate. You see it in him, exhibiting it. We're a political party that has passion to create a new and better Nigeria. Because to tell you that we're okay in Nigeria now, the politics in Nigeria now is really not okay, honestly. So we, out of people clamoring for us to come out, we came out and we feel that we can contribute our own quota to Nigeria.
Okay, and earlier you mentioned, Mr. Bafemi, about women and children, what your party has been doing. Can you give us a breakdown of what your party hope, to achieve in terms of empowerment of women and youths and even, children?
Yes, in our manifesto and in our plans and agenda for women, we want to have 40% representation in every electoral position, and we mean it. Not that we just carry some small, no. Because we believe that women are the heartbeat of nation, and women are good accountants. Women are good administrators, very, very good administrators. So if by the grace of God Almighty, they hand over the government to us and our Yes Party becomes victorious, we're going to have 40% women representation in the government. And then we're going to, one of the basic things that we're going to fight for women is rights, women's rights on inheritance. And then we're going to fight for child marriages. We're going to, it's going to be criminalized in Nigeria. So these are one of the basic things, plans we have for women. And then youth. Since it's our passion to harness, to see the potentials of youth. Most of these youth, they have potentials, but they don't have the wherewithal of how to go about it. And at least our presidential candidate, Alistair Shoyode, has been in the industry of, will I say, not educating, harnessing the potentials of these youth. In the last 20 decades, that's what he has been into, mentoring them. I think he's even the leader of youth mentoring or something in Nigeria. So that basically, that's what we're going to be doing for the youth.
Okay, thank you very much. And let's return to UK, where Dr. Shoyode is standing by. Dr. Shoyode, you have actually encapsulated some of the things you intend to do if voted into power come February this year. But I wanted you to take up one sector, for instance. I dissect that sector with respect to what you are specifically going to do to, lift Nigeria from where it is now on that sector to the next level of it. For instance, agriculture, which of course is the hallmark of industrial revolution. And we are somewhat behind when you talk about industrial revolution because of course, our capacity in the manufacturing sector is very low. So what are you going to do? Today we are celebrating huge rice production, something that ought to have happened several decades ago. And we have other cash crops, in question. Now, how do you intend to turn the agricultural sector around from inputs to, value addition?
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Kieran. we have to be realistic here. In terms of agriculture, are we really producing above what we have been quoting ourselves that we have been producing? I'm grateful that the government, as I said, anything that the government is doing that is worth celebrating, we should celebrate. That now they have seen the need for the agricultural sector to move into mechanization, and whereby they have collaborated with some international organization and they have formed some agency in Nigeria purposely to move the country into mechanization. So what we will do is, as people, there's no need to reinvent the wheel. We will now strengthen that organization up and then make it very strong. Yeah, we'll make it very strong and then work with it. At the end of the day, what then we need to look at is to support the government, and which means the government is the people elected who are now in office to work. Now, most of our problem within the agricultural sector is waste of products. We don't have storage capacity. The transportation system is not there. So all this create whereby we end up losing almost 40 to 50% of the product. Now, of course, in order to, when you have produced whatever it is across the agricultural sector, and you really want to deliver some to the international community, there are standard gauge, there are standard things that need to be done in order for it to pass all the necessary criteria. So what YES is absolutely working on in our own manifesto is to make sure that every local government have the capacity and build storage capacity within their own locality. With that in place, it means that when they are produced, the government will have a direct access to quality product, whereby government will support and provide more ingredient and subsidy for the farmers, and then government can help buy some of this product and then now repackage them. When you talk of, for example, cassava, Nigeria is one of the leading producers, but do we actually generate revenue from it? The answer is absolutely no. So we will build in places 774 local government, powerful storage, and then regional hub, whereby the agricultural products are being put and marginalized and recaptured and engaged for international community, international market. But apart from that as well, government will strengthen the process of providing good seeds. You know, when we talk about farmers having access to fertilizer, one has to be realistic. How many farmers do we really have in the country? Because we tend to say Nigeria has the capacity of almost 70% are farmers, but not in the rural areas. And even in the villages, we may be farmers just to feed ourselves, but not farmers that are producing at a commercial level. We will have to identify those, the difference between the two, and then support the commercialization of agricultural products.
All right, we seem to have lost those signals there. We hope that that will return before we conclude this segment of our conversation. That has been Dr. Sherde there, who is the presidential candidate of YES Democratic or Electorate Solidarity. But we still have Mrs. Obafemi, who is the National Organizing Secretary of the party. I would like you to tell us what you will do with respect to women involvement in politics. Of course, over the years, women, you know, have fought to be in the mainstream, the political mainstream of the country, and that has been so difficult for the women folk to achieve over time. Although some parties are beginning to allow women to play key roles, especially elective, positions. Now, what does your party intend to do with women?
Like I rightly said, women are the heartbeat of a nation. And in my own political party, we've been going out to encourage women to participate in politics. We go one-on-one. Most of them, we encourage them.
Are you prepared to allocate positions to women?
Of course.
If your party comes to power?
That's what
what percentage is it going to be?
40%. 40% representation in any electoral position. And key position. Not just you just carry a portfolio and give to women just to say, just take a bit there. No, very key sensitive positions. Because women have been known to be good administrators, like I told you earlier on. So we encourage women. We're even using this forum to encourage women to come out and join politics.
How would you record your success in terms of, building trust among Nigerians for your party? What is the success so far?
Of
building trust among Nigerians for your party?
As we have, at least we have our manifesto, and it's open to the public to see what we have to offer.
What is the response like from the populace?
Beautiful, beautiful. Because when we started out as a movement, the response was very, very great. And as at this moment, I won't give you the percentage of people who are part of Yes movement, Yes political party, but it's on record. For a period of like 6 months, we know the response of Nigerians to Yes electoral solidarity.
Okay, thank you very much, Mrs. Obafemi. We seem to have Dr. Shoyode back online. Dr. Shoyode, if you can hear me. Now, if we're talking economic stability for the nation, let's look at tax. The nation needs, for economic stability to thrive, there must be revenue generation. And we've seen cases of tax evasion and all of that. And Nigeria is said to have the lowest tax ratio in the world. What would you do? What are your strategies that you will put in place to ensure that everyone pays tax?
Well, thank you, Ma. I think one of the problems is when people do not really trust what government is doing with their taxes, then they don't want to pay. Then you can see there's a logic there that at the end of the day, salaries are not paid. In some states, salaries are not paid for more than 18 months. Some state 1 year, 6 months, 3 months. So when people are not really receiving their due, their sweat, their work, their ethics, what belongs to them is not being given to them. When you don't pay me, how do you expect me to pay taxes? But nevertheless, let's come back into at least the corporate world, whereby the private sector, one of the striving forces in the country, is contributing enormously. So people need to see that when they pay their taxes are utilized diligently, transparently, and in an accountable way. That's the difference, again, of what we are delivering. So what I'm now saying is, when you look at the country, as you rightly mentioned, over the last 10 years or 20 years, people have been saying that government come and behave above the law, government behave above the ordinary people who actually elected them and gave them this authority to become the leaders. Then people are well concerned. So one of the ingredients is that when you are accountable, being transparent, people will pay their taxes. But apart from that, our government will definitely chase people who are due to pay their taxes. Companies, organizations, everybody that should pay tax will pay tax. Nevertheless, there are some states, for example, that have multiple taxes. All this then has to be brought into a central unit as a federation, as a country, as a nation, whereby every state, at least at the national level, everything is accountable, even for the smaller businesses, because when they know you can provide them with extra services and you're really delivering what the taxes are meant for, because it's a revenue for the government, people will pay their taxes. So, but apart from that, as I said, the rule of law, which now become the most authoritarian way, because it's not like it is on authority, but at least it's official, that people know that when we pay our taxes, it will be diligently used either for the healthcare sector that is needed, for the road, for the infrastructure that need to be built across the country. We are going technology direction. What do I mean by that? Around the world now, everything is done by technology, applications, apps. We work without any doubt. Among the candidates that are there, I'm one of those who have been using technology. I've been using technology for the last 2 decades. I know the benefit of it. You don't need to leave your house to pay your taxes. You don't need to leave your shop to pay your taxes because the apps will be there. Just pay. If it is 500 naira, pay the 500. If it is 100, just pay it. And everything will be central. So you will eliminate paper. People don't use papers around the world now. Everything is technology application. We will introduce it. And now when you talk about in Nigeria, there are more than 100 million people who are using mobile phone. So it's mean that technology, if we need to refund you your taxes, we will refund you your taxes. But one thing as well is, when we talk about the global professionals, Nigeria has got professionals across the world. We know where to find them. They are there just waiting to find a leader that they can trust. Because when people write proposal in Nigeria, it disappears because the person that you submit your proposal to end up utilizing it and ignoring you. That is not what we have. That is not what Yes is bringing to the table. As I said, if you definitely want a better life, yes, it's your answer. If you want a greater Nigeria, yes, it's your answer. The position our country is presently is because of almost everybody that has been there, that is still there. It is time now for Nigerians to move away from other recycled product that is not good. There's nothing wrong with recycling product that are very good. If you live in a wonderful house, you don't want to demolish your house. No matter what it is, you can continue to upgrade that house. So quality recycling is okay. But bad recycling is absolutely bad and worse. We shouldn't go into that. But what we're not doing is we're not presenting ourselves saying, ladies and gentlemen, the Nigerian people, the 84 million of us that have registered to vote, it is time now for us to say, should we continue the same way we have been? If the answer is no, then we should look at the alternative. Do we have the alternatives? The answer is yes. Can we make Nigeria better? Yes. Can we make Nigeria greater? Yes. Do we have the people that can make Nigeria greater? Yes. It is time for people to stop sitting on the sideline. We shouldn't sit on the sideline anymore. Where government is doing something right, we should commend them. When they're doing something wrong, we should criticize it, but preferring solution. This is what YES is all about. It's about solution orientation, fully focused party that is saying, ladies and gentlemen, the good people of Nigeria, it is right time now for you to look at the people that have been presented to you. We do not have the money back. We do not have the big money to spend, but we're saying to you, look at where we're coming from. Look at our profile. What have we been doing with our life before saying now we want to join the process of leadership in our dear country? Do we have the capacity? Do we have the capability? The answer is absolutely yes. We have the capacity. We know the people in our dear country who are ready to sacrifice in order to make Nigeria a better and a greater place. Our leaders has been talking that Nigeria used to be better in the 70s, in the 80s, that in today's day, Nigeria is not as sweet as it has been. And that's why the Yes Party says, let's make Nigeria greater, because we have been great.
All right, sir. We'd like to appreciate you one more time, Dr. Shoyde. That's been well spoken and properly articulated. I'm sure Nigerians are hearing you. But before we let you go, let's tell you what Nigerians are also saying. Some are making their contributions, and I'd like to start with Ruth.
Mutana Farouk is one of the tweets here. The presidential candidate of Yes Party has done well in promoting the good image of Nigeria in the globe. But becoming a president of Nigeria requires a visionary domestic knowledge about Nigeria and Nigerians. I urge him to continue with the good job he is doing, and I wish him the best.
All right, from Waluye Sahid, it's always been my opinion to give space to these new and young parties. They have good intention, but I'm afraid it's still one of APC or PDP that will win in the election.
Okay, Festus Akimboyewa, like other parties, Yes Manifesto is a nicely crafted document in which they're promising Nigerians adequate power supply, good health system, good road, good security, wealth creation and employment. My concern is these promises are not costed and no action plan attached to them.
All right, from Lawal Zulu Babatunde, good manifesto. We need someone like him. At least show it here in our beloved country.
And Hosseini Babamai, I think Yes Party still need more time to inform Nigerians what they are intending to do when voted into power in 2023 or so.
All right, now from Ibrahim Moduaji, Dr. Shoyde, been in diaspora for a long time. How can you solve Nigeria's problem, which is mostly local? Do you have that requisite understanding of Nigeria's basic needs, or Nigerians' basic needs, which mostly were local and it's a geographical terrain? But you wouldn't have time to address this question, actually, because you know, our time is really out for you. But we'd like to thank you immensely for being part of our show this morning. And it's been wonderful talking to you this morning all the way from the UK. We've been speaking with Dr. Shoyde, the Yes Electoral Solidarity Party presidential candidate. Thank you very much indeed. And of course, back home here, Mrs. Omowumi Obafemi, who is the National Organizing Secretary of Yes Party. Thank you for coming on the program. And Good Morning Nigeria continues after the break, and that's when we'll be talking about the National Conscience Party. Do stay with us.
don't you people sell imported materials here? As beautiful as the shop is.
Auntie. Buying foreign goods does not help our economy. Neither does it boost local production. And the good thing is Nigerian-made products are high quality. And to make Nigeria great again, that is why I only sell made in Nigeria products. Because change begins with me.
I'm convinced. Change begins with me too. Change begins with me.
This message is brought to you by the National Orientation Agency in conjunction with the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture.
Nigerians. Suicide bombers are not spirits. They are not ghosts. They are human beings like you and me. They live amongst us. They are your neighbors. They are your friends today, but terrorists tomorrow. So you must know your neighbor now. Security begins with you and me. Know your neighbor. Be vigilant. Be security conscious. Report suspicious persons, objects, and movements to the police and other security agencies. The security of our nation is a duty for you and me.
If you see something, say something. Nigeria unite against terrorism. This message is brought to you by the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture.
Thank you for staying with us. Time now to welcome the next set of our guests on the conversation, Political Parties Campaign Documents. And joining us in our Abuja studio is the presidential candidate of National Conscience Party, Dr. Yunusa Tanko. And he's also the former chairman Inter-Party Advisory Council. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much for having me. Compliment of the season to everyone.
Wish you the same.
Thank you.
Now, Dr. Tanko, you know, you have been in the political scene for quite some time.
That's right.
And, you know, politics in Nigeria is not new to you, but this year's presidential election campaign seems to be of a lot of interest to a lot of people. What is your interest, and why did it take you so long to show interest?
First of all, let me also show my condolence to the family of Nigerian Air Force and the Nigerian Army and all of our agencies who have been on the war front fighting this insurgency. I wish to sympathize with their family, and I hope that God Almighty will continue to strengthen them as they continue to fight and protect the sovereignty of this country. And then I wish also that probably the equipment that they are using, we should try and get it updated so that probably we'll not have this kind of mishap. It's quite unacceptable to the Nigerian people. We have a very gallant soldiers who are determined to rescue and fight for this country, and then we must continue to encourage them. I stand with the Nigerian Army, Nigerian Air Force, and the Nigerian Navy. May God continue to protect them as they continue to defend this country.
Amen. Now, back to the question.
Yeah. You asked me a wonderful question. Yes, 24 of my adult life have been into politics. And our politics has always been in the interest of the Nigerian masses. And then we try to study the terrain. We try to look at our SWOT analysis, our strengths and weaknesses, strengths and opportunities. Unfortunately, we were able to identify that major of the problem that we have actually is funding. And but we cannot just sit back and say we will not do anything. So we get encouraged by the Nigerian youth who have been seeing us propagating ideology based on how we can change the narrative. And then they encourage us to come out. And so we don't want to disappoint them. And that is why our acronym for our political campaign this year is tagged the paradigm shift. The paradigm shift from the old order to a new order. We want to change from the old way we are doing things and then to a new one. Then we came up with our mission and vision statement. Our mission statement is clearly to build a country based on people-oriented policy, targeted towards having a country based on good development and what we call social security with the intention of having good governance to the Nigerian people. We have a vision that we want to have a country that is based on trust, equity, fairness, and justice, so that for the present of the Nigerian people and then the future development of the Nigerian nation. And these have been our propelling energy that has really galvanized us towards saying that, okay, let us come out and run for election and see where we can add value to our democratic system.
Okay, good. You know, all the parties that have spoken to us on this platform, you know, they're all focused on the masses. What can be done to alleviate poverty? What can be done to change the course of history of this country as it concerns all sectors of national life? Now, you are the National Conscience Party. Let us into the thrust of this party and why it appears to be different from all other parties. You have been, you know, in politics for 24 years of your life have been spent, you know, on politics. So you are in the know. So what is the thrust? What is different?
You see, the National Conscience Party is different in such a way that it majors on the peasant farmers, we major on the barbers, the bricklayers, the low-trodden of the nation, those who form the larger percentage of the country. Those are our major core target electorate. So that's why it is different. We know that we are saying that probably the bourgeois are not part of it, but no. But we think that they have the majority of the population, and then they have the population, the kind of electorate that we are targeting to alleviate, because the motto of the party is abolition of poverty. So you see, we target those particular areas, including youth and women and persons with disability.
So how much progress have you made so far in reaching out to those people?
We have made a lot of wonderful progress, because we have brought out the subconscious mind of the Nigerian people, galvanizing them towards believing in themselves that they own the country. And if they can't do that, they will be able to decide exactly who lead them in every strata of life. And within the years, we have been able to achieve so many. I give you an example. We are able to work on the Child Right Act to ensure that every Nigerian child has an education from at least from primary school up to the tertiary level. This was achievable by our former chairman, Comrade Femi Falana, and he went to court. We got it done. And we're able to also ensure that there's a multi-party democratic system in this country. We went to court when we were challenging INEC at that time for the registration of political parties. We won that particular case in the Supreme Court. We were able to have a room for a lot of political parties, and that is why we now have unity. Some of the political parties coming in new, that the APC and all. It was all of the work of the National Conscience Party. And then we did a groundwork as regard to issues that concerns electricity and all. We went onto the streets of Lagos, Abuja, and Abuja. We were talking about how people are being marginalized and the cost of electricity tariff and all of those things. So we've been on the street working. There is no particular struggle in this country as against anything that has to do with the Nigerian people that the National Conscience Party has not been part of.
So give us a breakdown of your 10-point agenda.
Okay. The 10-Care program is the manifesto of the National Conscience Party. I acronym it the EETTHHFWPS. Let me now mention them one by one. Now, we have employment, education. We have health and housing. We have telephone and telecommunication and transportation. We have food care. We have water care. We have power, and then security. Now, all of this, people will say, why 10? Yes, 10, because this is the minimum we can take at the moment. Now, this particular 10 also have ministerial offices attached to each and one of them with research and development. We have ministries already for all of this. So all of this ministry would take care of this particular action that we already put on our template and deal with them in one. So what we are having is 10 programs in one done simultaneously.
All right. So complex, you know, it appears, you know, because you're talking about it's like a 10-point agenda that will focus on all different aspects of our national life.
Yes, I will elucidate and amplify as we go on.
Oh, no, you can do that
okay.
now.
All right. Now, let's now take on education. The problem of education in Nigeria has been underfunding for the past, since 1999. Now, the budget of the Federal Republic of Nigeria has always been within 7 to 11%. 7 to 11%. As we speak today, right now, The budget of education for Federal Republic of Nigeria stood at 46, as proposed, 462 billion naira. Now, out of the 8.83 trillion naira proposed budget, this particular amount amounted to only 5.71% of the total budget. And according to UNESCO, if you want to have a standard educational system in the country, what you need to have is that you need to have 26% of your budget. So now it's not even within the 7 again, it's even far below 7. And that is the reason why you see most of our leaders abroad celebrating with their children on a selfie, going abroad for education and teaching, getting them graduating outside the country. It's unacceptable. Because if you do not build your educational system at home, you do not get the best graduates with well-trained schools, you cannot expect good production. It just can't happen. So what do we intend to do? We intend to jack up that particular budgetary allocation to give us that particular, at least the average. Let's even say we start with about 15 to 20%. Don't overwork ourselves. Let's get to a particular level. Then we can increase as the year comes to ensure that we have that particular UNESCO proposal for the 26%. So that then we will have good human capital development.
Is that feasible?
Very, very visible. Because what we do in this country is that we send our priority to things that are not actually advantageous to us. Now, if you get a quality education, look at our leaders. Some of them did standard 3. Some of them cannot even present their certificate. And then when you look at the quality of this particular individual, you see that they have the gaps of educational background because they have a well-tutored education at the early age. You understand? So, but then, and then the productive nature of those particular people have led to this particular level. But here we are, some of the graduates we have, you can put them to test and then you start wondering if actually they went to universities. So because we do not have that well-trained manpower that we can believe in, we have to even break our university procedures into different status. Before it was WAEC, we need to subject them to JAM. From JAM now, we need to subject them to internal examination from the university, just because we are trying to get the best out of them. Ordinarily, what we would have had was just WAEC, and then you have already gotten a university. But that is not done at the moment now. So we need to get the best of our best. And funny enough, do you also know that according to that UNESCO report, that 13.5 million of those particular children are out of school? And 69% of them are from the north. And then what are we doing? Over the years, people will look at it. One of the things that really endear me into policy is actually this particular issue of education. As regard to, because I come from Kano State, and I see the young ones on the street begging in terms of this Almajiri system. And I want to say, with all sense of responsibility, this is one of the major areas I will level my government on, because we need to get those children out of the street. They are waste of human capital development, and you will ask me, how do I intend to do it? It's just simple thing. You don't need to go to do any rocket science about it. What is clear is that the North has a well-endowed training of their youth, and it's based on this religious aspect. A child from the northern part of this country can recite the whole Quran for you at the age of 5 or 6. That is to tell you the depth of his intellectual capacity. And people are not tapping into it. We're not tapping into it. If somebody can read the whole Quran, 60 verses, what does the honor mathematics or English does to him? It's simple. So what we need to do is kind of infuse those particular malams into the Western educational system. Even if it's 2 hours, they teach maths and English, add to it. Those children will be able to get at least Western education coupled with the Islamic education. That will change the narrative in the North, and that will infuse a new kind of human capital development into the system that would take care of some of the agricultural things that they do in terms of farming, in terms of animal husbandry, in terms of anything that you think of. The quality of the meat that you will take will be different. The quality of the product in agriculture that you will take is different. The quality of discussion and communication that is happening now, that is a breakdown of communication, will completely fizzle out. And so therefore, even the budgetary allocation that we are paying for Boko Haram will not even be there because we've already transferred it into education. Okay. So why are we wasting resources in an area when we need them much better that can use it to advance the cause of Nigerian people?
All right, thank you indeed. And now that you have spoken about education, let me take you further to science, technology, and innovation, because of course they are intertwined. I recall that in 2003, the then president of Nigeria, Olusegun Obasanjo, requested a blueprint, a document, that could drive science and technology in Nigeria from UNESCO, actually. And the UNESCO did come up with a blueprint, for that matter. UNESCO also advised other African countries to key into that. But I'm not sure that document was implemented. Then what do you intend to do in science and technology sector?
Look, when you have some of your best brain developing technology outside the country, that means something is wrong with your own system. That means something is wrong with yours. It is very, very clear. We have Nigerians who are even from Zamfara State building beautiful technology for even Mercedes-Benz and so. We have built wonderful mathematicians. We have doctors. All of them. It was Andrew Young that I remember. There was a story I read on the social media. Andrew Young went to a research center in the United States, from what I read. Like, he picked up a glass or cup like this. And then when he found out, he picked it with a lot of strength. And then by the time he found out that, why is it so light, and yet I picked it up with a lot of strength? He was told that it was used in aeronautic engineering and all. And then he said, who developed it? Then he came out, it was a Nigerian. A Nigerian. From the south of this country. We have them from the south, west, east, and north. And what we don't do is that we don't tap into that particular knowledge of this particular young Nigerian. We don't give them that opportunity to actually move forward from what they learn, what they can do. And we allow them to just filter and go somewhere else and give them, then they return the technology for us to buy in a huge sum of money. When we can be the one that will produce that particular technology and send out of the country. This is unbelievable. You go to Aba, you go to Kano, you go to Mina, you will see people producing things on their own, but there have not been any scientific improvement on those particular ways of life. And that is what brought me to the issue of the next thing on my agenda, which is employment. Now, Nigeria has, according to Walomita, we have 195 million Nigerians in this country. 195 million. Now, out of that 195 million, 72% of that population are the Nigerian youth. 72%. Now, the 72%, according to also to trending economics, it says that 38% of them are unemployed, even though in the second quarter of 2018, it said it dropped. It dropped to 36, mega number. But what we are saying is that, what have we done for the employment level of this particular unemployed youth? We are saying it's a simple thing that we can do. We are not bringing you a scientific way of huge, no, we are bringing you practical things. What we say we will do is this. Each local government of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, we have 774. 774 beautiful local governments. Now, the fact still remains that in each of these particular local governments, each of the local government have a way of survival. If you check back from your own local government, you will try to remember maybe one of the things that your people do to survive.
Indigenous technology.
Yes, in their own. I'm from Kura. We produce rice in our locality. In Epoma and the rest of them, some of them use this palm kernel to produce palm oil. There is gari and yams in Boko and all of it. Each local government of the Federal Republic of Nigeria has a way of survival. But the question you want to ask yourself is this. That same way of survival, has there been an improvement on it? Practical, no. Capital, no. Up till now, those people are still producing what they are selling in that same old form. When they want to do the rice in Kura, for example, some of them still beat it on top of stones. And at the end of it, what you have is rice with stone and all. If you go to those particular areas that produce palm oil, you see them with drums, burning this particular palm kernel on top of drums, and then filtering it in a way. Almost every locality you see them. It is the same palm kernel that Malaysia took and became a world power.
Agreed.
And also what we want to do is that we want to transform each of those particular local content, give them a cottage industry, refine way so that they can be producing those particular products in a refined form. And then when we feed the nation, now we can export. And that way it will reduce the unemployment level from that 38 or 36, which is 2 digits, to at least 7 digits. Unemployment rate will just fizzle out.
Dr. Yunusa, you make it sound so so easy.
Yes, because you have that particular belief it will work.
Now, where I'm coming to, since you've mentioned agriculture,
Yes.
let's give kudos to the present administration in terms of rice, because you mentioned rice production has improved. And talking about the stone, I am not familiar with rice having stone. But that aside, some of the rice don't have stones, some of them made in Nigerian rice that we eat. But that aside, that's an issue for another day, not to create an argument here. Let's look at ways. Now, you know, Nigerians are definitely familiar with different manifestos by different parties. If we want this good health, education, agriculture, there must be a workable system. And without implementation of the policies you're bringing out that you will implement, it can thrive. So what policies are you going to?
I just gave you a detailed explanation of
in
how
ensuring that the implementation.
Of course, look, when you have a head, a leader, who has energy and is determined to do something, he's being directed by that particular belief that he has, and he continues to do it. I had told you I started politics since I was in the secondary school. And I have that belief that what I want to do is to get those children out of the streets. It's one of my primary objectives. So anytime I have that opportunity, I will do so. So you see, I've been driven that particular belief. I have a personal conviction. And then what are the policies? It's simple. I just told you how we need to increase our budgetary allocation with regard to education.
Implementation is what
the implementation is what you face by yourself and making sure that you have the right people to drive what you believe in. You don't take people who don't believe in it. You put people who believe in it and make sure that you have the tools to work. When they have the tools to work, they deliver. But you see, major problem that we have, even in terms of implementation in this country, is that we try to give people job to do, but we don't take care of their welfare. And that gives room for corruption. A detailed example. You employ a civil servant. You are paying him a salary of 30,000 naira. Maybe an accountant. Now, that same accountant, you now give him 1 billion naira to manage. That amount of salary that you are paying him is not enough to take care of his children's school fees. It's not enough to feed his children, not talk about his health. So that way, you cannot get this thing implemented, because at the end of it all, what you will have is 5% rebate on the contract that you give. Because he wants to get something to survive on. So, but when you take care of his welfare, you make sure that his future is guaranteed and all. He will help in implementing that particular project that you want to do. So we need to be careful as regards to what to do to our people, how we take care of them. Because after all, governance is about the people. If you don't take care of the people, you have no business in
Will you
government.
pin it to corruption? Will you pin that to corruption?
Of course. It's very, very practical. You don't just allow people and then you don't give them the tools to work, and then you make life very difficult for them, and then it's just like what you see in our police. Do you think that we don't have good police? We have brilliant policemen, officers. Fantastic ones that have capacity. And you can even check you can check even the indices. When they go outside the country, they perform very well. And you want to ask the question, why do they perform very well when they go outside the country? They are being paid in dollars. And they're well dressed. They are comfortable in what they do. They know back home that whatever happened to them, they can take care of their children and their families. So they go and do the work. But here you are. You hardly can even pay them their salaries. You cannot even give them uniforms to wear. And then you expect them to go and stay in the sun and then fight somebody who has a machine gun. So some of them ended up into all kinds of social malfeasance, and it ended up into a system decay. What we have in this country is a system decay that is not working. And except if our leaders start checking back, because when they check back into their own history, it wasn't like that for them. Believe me, it wasn't. Because at the time in which they graduate from the university, some of the best ones were being given opportunity to work. They are given opportunity to work. The job is waiting for them. A car is even waiting for the best performing person. A beetle is waiting. They used to have cafeteria and they enjoy themselves in the cafeteria. Today, the students in the university don't know even what the cafeteria is.
All right.
These are facts.
Thank you, Dr. Yunusa Tanko. Now, let's go to your party, National Conscious Party. We want to know the capacity of this party. We want to know whether the party actually has the capacity to even run this election with respect to funding, with respect to followership, and with respect to fielding candidates, who will vie for different categories of electoral positions. Let us into this.
Well, we were able to we're able to get a lot of candidates, most of them young ones, and then males and female. But when you talk about funding, I will tell you, capital, no. We don't have that funding. And that's probably the major problem of most of the political parties.
What about the spread?
Well, the spread is quite encouraging. In fact, the National Conscience Party started with Chief Gani Fahimi, the first chairman of the party who ran as presidential candidate. He handed over to Dr. Osage Obayuana. From Dr. Osage Obayuana, he handed over to Femi Falana, then where I took over. So you can imagine the kind of a groundswell that we have over the years. We have it cut across the country. But majority of the problem that we have, which I've mentioned earlier on, is actually funding. But we believe that when people hear us, we've done a lot for this country. We've done a lot, and we are proud of our achievement as a political party. Because with little resources, with little or no resources, we've been able to get to this particular level. How to the point that now we have elected officers in all the Federation of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, not appointees, elected. So that means that the party has grown to that particular level. In fact, to tell you the truth, the last presidential election, we had 3 contestants. It has never been in the history of the party. We usually have one unanimous one person or unchallenged one person. But here we had 3 contestants. Was fearless contested for, and then eventually I emerged the candidate. But all of us are working together despite our differences in terms of our belief. But we want to sell our ideology to the Nigerian people. While we are campaigning, we are selling these particular ideas. A presenter won't challenge me. Tanko, you have beautiful ideas. Go and win election. It's not easy. But then we pray that the Nigerian people, especially the population of the 72% that I just mentioned to you, will see values into what we are selling and then queue into it, and let us have a paradigm shift.
And if we're talking transparency and accountable leadership, which is what you're proposing,
yes.
Now let's look at violence-free campaign. And you are a member of the National Peace Committee. Yes. How would you encourage Nigerians, and what is your stance when we're talking violence-free campaign?
No,
even during the elections.
I do support it. In fact, I advocate peace. Because without peace, you cannot have even a country or even have where you have to contest election. It wouldn't happen. But the thing is this winner-take-all syndrome has become inimical to the challenge, to one of the major challenges that we have in our democracy. Because once the winner wins election, imagine, the president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria won with 15 million votes. And the loser per se, or the person who considered to defeat, lost with about 14 million or so. That's a huge number. And then it's either they are not being carried along in governance, and then the other people now become a challenge to the system. So what we are saying is that we will prefer an all-inclusive government where proportional representation is carried along, being done, or, if possible, any person that has won election will see value into majority of the things that most of the parties are saying, and then given an opportunity for them to perform in those particular areas so that we can build a country. Because what we need to do, what we are interested in, is in building a country that will beneficiary to all of us. So, but if these things are done, you will have a very violent-free election, because everybody knows that he has a stake in that particular government. So what really bring out this particular issue of violence is that win at all costs. At the end of it all, we are ready to manipulate and make sure that we maim and kill just to get to that particular power. Because if we get to that particular power, that is our end route to enrich ourselves and all. So, but when this particular wealth of the country is shared at least averagely equitable to the Nigerian people, you will see a very less violent election. And that is why majority of us actually canvass earlier on. We canvass earlier on for the sequence of election. The sequence of election should be in such a way that we start with the state assembly, ending up to the governorship, and then federal House of Rep. That way, then before we get to the Senate and President, that way majority of the other political parties will have won elections. You will have had a robust campaign. You will have had, with all due respect, the campaign this time around, it's been quite slow. It's been quite slow, I must confess.
And one of the newspapers yesterday, where the Minister of Agriculture was saying that the two parties are broke. The two parties are broke. Okay, well, and he said that it's a way of de-emphasizing money politics. All right, now, Dr. Yunusa, I know we're running out of time. But some Nigerians have been listening to you.
All right.
And already making comments about your postulations this morning. And we have a Festus Akimboy, where he said there's no doubt that all our political parties, including YES and NCP, rightly identified our challenges and also recognize that our country is blessed with dynamic and creative people with massive potential. I call on all the parties to come together to build our country.
And Dele Jack Solomon, Nigeria's problem is not more of political parties, but the politicians. But in the run-up to the 2019 general election, these parties have appreciable, fielded, credible candidates compared to the past. The YES and NCP manifestos are spot on. But how they will implement this blueprint is the question.
All right. Well, Motana Farouk, as much as I know, with the assertion that says that a small organization is a microcosm of a nation. When Nigeria as a nation is not an epitome of such. Nigeria is a diverse country which is complex to govern because of the attitude of some Nigerians. How do you plan to harness this diversity and plow it into the economic El Dorado? Fighting against corruption, what is your talk on this? Well, I'm afraid I don't have time to answer this.
And Dele Jack Solomon, again, I appreciate the introduction of e-political system by the YES Council, where they believe such adoption will cut expenses, waste time, create a stronger accountability and transparency in building better democratic principles in the country through the party. Or the party should see this. Well, Dr. Yunusa Tanko, that's the much we can take from you. I know you're very passionate about Nigerians and the nation.
Yes, I am.
And wish you the very best and best of luck at the polls.
Thank you.
We have been speaking with the presidential candidate of the National Conscience Party, Dr. Yunusa Tanko. Also, he was the former chairman Inter-Party Advisory Council. Thank you so much for coming on the program.
Thank you very much for having me.
All right, let's move on to sports. That's next.